Have you ever wished for a life where nothing, no insult, no setback, no chaos could rattle your inner peace? What if you could walk through life like a mountain, calm, grounded, unmoved by the storms that swirl around you? And what if the secret to that serenity wasn't out there, but already within you? Let's begin. Feelings are just visitors. Let them come. Let them go. Now pause for a moment and imagine this. A life where every harsh word, every challenge, every stressful moment rolls past you like waves that rise, crash, and disappear, while your inner calm remains untouched, a still pond, deep and serene. Sounds powerful, doesn't it? If there's only one lesson you take from this video, let it be this. Peace doesn't come from control or perfection. It comes from letting go. That's all you really need to understand. Today, we're going to explore 10 transformative Buddhist principles that can help you step into this unshakable state of peace, regardless of what the outside world throws at you. As the Buddha once said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. So together, let's begin building your inner sanctuary, a safe haven of emotional clarity, strength, and resilience. If you're ready to rise above the noise, to walk calmly through the fire, to stop absorbing the pain that isn't yours, then let's dive into the first powerful teaching. Principle 1. Insults and offense. Picture this. You're walking a quiet path through nature. The wind is still. The world is calm. Suddenly, someone throws a stone into a still pond. The surface ripples, but only for a while. Then it returns to stillness. Now think about how often life tosses its own stones your way. A hurtful comment, a passive-aggressive remark, a judgment that stings. How often do you hold on to those ripples far longer than necessary? Here's the truth. Buddhist philosophy reminds us. Words only hurt if we let them. They carry no lasting power unless we absorb them and make them part of our identity. The Buddha put it perfectly. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. But letting go isn't always easy, is it? Why do we replay the sting of that insult over and over? Why do we let it echo in our minds? It all comes down to attachment. Our attachment to being liked, to being understood, to feeling justified. We pick up others' negativity like heavy rocks and carry them long after the moment has passed. Let's bring it into real life. A co-worker mocks your effort. A friend makes a careless joke that cuts deeper than they know. Your natural reaction? Anger, shame, doubt. But what if you could see through their words, see their pain, not yours? What if you asked yourself, do I really need to catch what they're throwing? You wouldn't drink poison just because someone offered it. So why swallow their bitterness? Here's a simple shift. Next time someone insults you, pause and breathe. Picture their words like clouds in the sky. Acknowledge them, but don't hold on. Let them drift away. This small act of mindfulness creates space. It puts you back in charge. You respond, you don't react. Because here's the heart of the lesson. Your peace is your power. Don't hand it over so easily. The ripples may come, but like the pond, you can return to calm again and again. And once you truly understand that their negativity is their burden, not yours, you begin to taste real freedom. Just like we explored in the first teaching, when you no longer absorb negativity as your own, the sting of insults fades, and the noise of the world no longer shakes your calm. That, my friend, is the beginning of true inner peace. Now let's move to the second key principle. Principle 2. Be strict with yourself, tolerant of others. Imagine you're climbing a tall, winding mountain. You've studied the path, packed what you need, and set your pace with quiet determination. But as you ascend, you begin to notice the other climbers, some moving faster, some slower, and others seeming to veer completely off course. It's natural to feel frustrated, maybe even critical. Why aren't they doing it right? Why are they making it harder for everyone else? But what if you shifted your focus? What if instead of judging their journey, you honored your own while offering patience to theirs? This is the heart of this powerful Buddhist teaching. Be strict with yourself, but tolerant of others. It's a delicate, mindful balance, holding yourself to high standards while offering compassion and understanding to those still finding their way. The Buddha once reminded us with deep simplicity, you, yourself, as much as anyone in the universe, deserve your love and affection. But that love must flow outward too. Too often we swing to extremes. We either become harsh with ourselves, chasing unrealistic perfection, and then expect others to meet the same, or we lower our own standards and excuse our behavior by pointing fingers at others. Both paths lead us to frustration and over time strain our relationships. The real power lies in balance, in being your own gentle coach, while letting others walk their own path in their own time. Let's bring this into everyday life. Say you've committed to a healthier lifestyle. You rise early, stretch, eat intentionally. Meanwhile, a friend snoozes past workouts and binges fast food. You might feel tempted to criticize them, or worse, feel superior. But here's the truth. Everyone climbs their own mountain. You don't need to carry their backpack, and they don't need to walk in your shoes. Being strict with yourself doesn't mean punishing yourself. It means sticking to your values, especially when it's hard. It's waking up for that chilly morning run. It's choosing calm when you're tempted to snap. It's holding your tongue when gossip calls, and being tolerant of others. It means understanding that people are growing through different seasons. You've faced your struggles, so when you see someone stumbling, offer the same grace you once needed. Here's a simple practice to bring this to life. Next time someone tests your patience, pause, breathe, and gently remind yourself, they're climbing their mountain just as I climbed mine. This mindset shifts everything. It keeps your discipline rooted and your heart open. You stop demanding perfection from others, and in doing so, create space for authentic connection and personal growth. Because just like the mountain does not judge those who climb it, you don't need to judge either. Climb your path, let others find theirs, and in that space, peace will bloom. Now, what if we told you that every difficult person you meet, even the most frustrating, might actually be your greatest teacher? Let's explore that next in Principle 3. In the last lesson, we explored how climbing your own mountain with self-discipline while offering grace to others can bring peace. But what happens when someone says or does something that really gets to you? Something that feels personal? Let's go deeper with the next powerful principle. Principle 3. Transform everyone into a teacher. Think back to a time when someone truly tested your patience. Maybe it was a colleague who dismissed your efforts, a stranger who cut you off in traffic, or even a loved one. Yes, someone close who said something sharp, something that lingered. In those moments, it's so easy to react with frustration, defensiveness, or even anger. But what if you paused? What if you took a breath, stepped back, and asked, "What is this moment trying to teach me?" This is the heart of a profound Buddhist teaching. See everyone, every single person, as your teacher. Whether an encounter is pleasant or painful, helpful or hurtful, it carries a lesson, if you are willing to receive it. The Buddha expressed it with elegant clarity. Watching after yourself, you watch after others. Watching after others, you watch after yourself. In other words, learning from others, no matter who they are, is one of the most powerful ways to grow yourself. Life is filled with lessons, but they rarely come wrapped in gold. Often, they're disguised as inconveniences. A friend who tests your patience? They teach you tolerance? A competitive co-worker? They challenge your confidence and push you towards self-assurance. Even someone who wounds you emotionally may unknowingly teach you forgiveness, resilience, or how to draw the boundaries that protect your peace. When you adopt this mindset, the world becomes your personal classroom. And even the people who challenge you the most, those who frustrate or confuse you, become unexpected teachers. Let's make this real. Imagine you're working on a group project. One team member keeps missing deadlines every single time. The frustration builds. You're tempted to lash out, or worse, take on their work just to get it done. But pause. What if this situation is here to help you practice assertive communication? Or maybe it's nudging you to set firmer boundaries and trust others to step up. Suddenly, this isn't just about stress. It's about growth. Now, let's be clear. This perspective doesn't mean you have to accept bad behavior or tolerate mistreatment. It means shifting how you interpret the situation. Rather than labeling someone as a problem, see them as a mirror, a reflection of something you can refine within yourself. Maybe they're showing you how much more patience you're capable of. Maybe they're challenging you to speak up with clarity. Maybe their presence reveals how much you've already evolved. Want a simple practice? The next time someone pushes your buttons, pause. Take a deep, grounding breath and ask yourself, what is this teaching me? If it helps, write it down. That moment of reflection is powerful. It transforms the heat of reaction into the light of awareness. Over time, this approach will reduce your stress. It empowers you to take ownership of your emotions and to see obstacles as stepping stones. Even the most difficult people lose their power to disturb your peace when you see them as part of your growth. So here's the lesson. Every person you meet has something to teach you, if you're willing to listen. When you embrace this truth, life becomes less about control and more about learning. You begin to walk through the world with resilience, curiosity, and a calm that can't be shaken. Next, we'll explore one of the most liberating truths in Buddhist wisdom. No one can hurt you unless you let them. Let's uncover what that truly means. So as we've just explored, every person, no matter how challenging, can become a teacher if we're open to the lesson. But here's something even more powerful. You don't have to let anyone's words or actions disturb your inner peace. Let's move to the next truth. Principle 4. No one can hurt you unless you let them. Imagine this. You're standing inside your cozy home during a thunderstorm. Outside, the wind is howling, the rain is pouring down, but you're dry, safe, and calm within. That's what inner peace feels like, your own sanctuary. Yet how often do we open the windows wide, letting the storm rush in? A harsh comment at work, an argument with someone you care about, a rude remark from a stranger. These moments can spiral, can't they? What starts as a passing remark can turn into hours or even days of hurt, stress, or resentment. But why? Because we react. We don't just hear their storm, we invite it in. We allow it to rattle our sense of self and disturb our emotional balance. But consider this. If someone throws a stone into a river, does the river stop flowing? No. It ripples for a moment and then keeps moving. Life is just like that river. It's full of stones, criticism, anger, rejection. But it's up to us. Will we let those stones sink us, or will we flow around them? Think of a moment when someone's words really hurt. Maybe a colleague publicly undermined you, or a friend betrayed your trust. That pain felt raw. It felt personal. But here's the truth. Their actions only carried power because of how you responded to them. What if, in that moment, you had paused? What if you had taken a breath and reminded yourself, their behavior says more about them than it does about me? This is where mindfulness becomes your greatest ally. Mindfulness is the gentle art of being present. It means observing your thoughts, feelings, and reactions without judgment. It gives you a sacred pause, a space between what happens and how you respond. And in that space is your power. Start small. Next time someone says something hurtful or acts unfairly, stop and ask, does this define me? Or does it define them? Recognize the emotion, but don't grasp at it. Let it drift by, like clouds passing through an open sky. You don't need to fight the storm. You just need to remember where your shelter is. Here's the profound truth. Your peace belongs to you. It is not a gift others can take. It is a strength you choose to protect. Build your resilience by refusing to absorb every negative emotion that comes your way. Someone's unkindness, like wind, it passes. Unless you give it weight, it holds no power. When you embrace this, something incredible happens. The world may still be chaotic, but you remain centered, flowing like the river, unshaken, unmoved, whole. So the next time a storm brews, ask yourself, will I invite it in, or will I stay grounded in peace? Choose peace. Choose strength. Choose to remain unaffected. Now, let's talk about something that quietly sneaks into even the strongest minds. Envy. What if, instead of shrinking under it, you could use it to grow? Let's explore that in Principle 5. Previously, we explored how no one can disturb your peace unless you open the door. Now, let's look at a powerful shift in mindset, one that turns jealousy into fuel for growth. Principle 5. Turn envy into emulation envy, that quiet sting we feel when we see someone living a life we desire. It sneaks in, often when we're scrolling through social media, watching someone celebrate a new achievement, travel the world, or seem effortlessly fulfilled. Maybe it's their career success, their relationship, or their confidence. It can make us feel stuck, small, even unworthy. But here's the powerful truth. Envy isn't your enemy. It's your compass. Instead of sinking into comparison, ask yourself, what exactly do I admire about them? Is it their discipline, their courage, their creativity? Now go further. Ask, how can I cultivate that in myself? That simple mental shift from jealousy to action can transform envy into a clear and purposeful plan. This principle is incredibly practical in our modern world. Let's say you admire someone's physical fitness. Instead of envying their results, study their habits. Do they wake up early? Plan meals in advance? Stay consistent even when life gets busy? Rather than getting lost in their highlight reel, adopt their approach and shape it to suit your own rhythm. Here's a practice to turn envy into a tool for personal growth. When envy arises, don't push it away. Pause. Identify the exact moment or trigger. Write it down. Break it into actionable steps. For example, if you admire someone's creativity, start a daily sketch, journal, or writing prompt. If it's their confidence, take small steps like setting healthy boundaries or joining a local speaking group. These micro-actions turn what once felt like a gap into a bridge. You stop asking, "Why not me?" and start walking toward your own version of success. Because in the end, envy doesn't mean you're lacking. It means you're longing. And longing, when directed wisely, leads to growth. The lesson is simple but transformative. Others' success is not a wall, it's a window, a glimpse of what's possible for you. When you adopt their strengths instead of resenting them, you change not only how you see others, but how you see yourself. Envy fades, and in its place, you'll find inspiration, direction, and renewed motivation. Up next, we'll talk about something even more liberating: how to stop fighting life and find peace through one of the most powerful Buddhist practices: acceptance. Let's dive into that next in Principle 6. In the last lesson, we turned envy into a roadmap for growth by shifting our mindset from comparison to inspiration. Now, let's take one step deeper into something that can release the tightest grip of suffering: acceptance. Principle 6. The power of acceptance. How much of our pain comes not from what's happening, but from our refusal to accept it? We've all been there, replaying a disappointment, clinging to how things should have been. But when you accept reality for what it is, you unlock a new kind of power. You stop reacting from frustration or denial and begin responding with clarity and intention. Here's a simple practice to help cultivate acceptance. Throughout your day, notice where resistance shows up. It might be minor, like getting stuck in traffic, or something heavier, like facing a personal loss or a dream deferred. When you feel that tightness inside, pause. Take 3 deep, grounding breaths. Silently say to yourself, "This is how it is right now." And with that, feel the tension soften. You're not giving in. You're letting go of the fight. Then ask yourself, what is the most meaningful action I can take next? That question brings you back into alignment with the present and with your purpose. Acceptance doesn't mean you approve of what's happening. It doesn't mean surrendering control. It means recognizing where your true control lies, in how you respond. You might not be able to control what life throws at you, but you can always choose how you meet it. And in that choice lies your freedom. Here's the deep lesson. Stop resisting reality. Life will bring storms. It will take unexpected turns. But when you stop fighting the rain and open your umbrella, you can serve your energy for what matters most: growing, adapting, and moving forward with grace. Because the rope of resistance, it only ties you to suffering. Let go of that tug of war, and you'll find a peace that no storm can wash away. And now, let's shift our focus outward to a teacher that's always been there, quietly guiding us: nature itself. Let's explore how living in harmony with nature can reconnect us to life's deeper wisdom. In the previous lesson, we explored how nature becomes our teacher when we stop resisting change and start flowing with it. Now, let's take that harmony a step further by letting it guide not just how we live, but who we choose to be. Principle 7. Live in harmony with nature. Look closely at nature, not just with your eyes, but with your heart. Do you see how it never resists change? How it moves through seasons, birth, growth, decay, and renewal without complaint? This quiet resilience carries a deep wisdom. Every falling leaf, every blooming flower, every shifting wind reminds us. Change is not our enemy. It's part of our rhythm. And when we learn to live in tune with that rhythm, we begin to find balance in places we never expected. Here's a beautiful practice to begin. Each day, find one thing in nature to appreciate. It could be the golden light of sunrise, the sound of birdsong, the gentle fall of rain on your window, even the coolness of the breeze or the rustling of leaves. Let it ground you. Let it remind you that life is abundant, not in what we accumulate, but is what we notice. Gratitude, especially for the natural world, shifts your perspective from scarcity to abundance. It helps you see that life is a cycle of giving and receiving, of letting go and beginning again. Nature teaches by example. It doesn't resist, it flows. It doesn't rush, yet everything is accomplished. Imagine adopting that mindset in your own life. How would your days change if you stopped forcing outcomes and started flowing with what is? When you align yourself with nature's rhythm, you become more resilient, more at peace, more open to the unfolding of life. You begin to realize the world doesn't need to slow down for you to find calm. The chaos doesn't need to disappear for you to be centered. It's already here, waiting in the stillness of the sky, in the patience of the trees, in the strength of the earth beneath your feet. And now, let's turn inward, because just as nature flows with balance, we too are called to live with integrity. Let's explore the next principle, ethical living, and how small choices can ripple out to shape not just your life, but the world around you. In the last lesson, we saw how ethical living creates a ripple effect, like a still lake that reflects peace and spreads it outward. Now let's explore a powerful inner companion to that way of living, gratitude. Principle 8. Cultivate gratitude. In a world full of noise, tasks, and distractions, how often do we miss the simple gifts life offers us, right here, right now? Imagine waking up to a golden morning. You step outside, the sun gently warms your skin, birds sing their quiet songs, and the crisp air carries the scent of fresh earth. But instead of pausing to take it in, your mind races. The to-do list, the unfinished tasks, regrets from yesterday, anxieties about tomorrow. It happens to all of us. We overlook the beauty of the present moment because we're consumed by what's missing. But Buddhist philosophy gently invites us to shift our gaze, to turn our attention not to what we lack, but to what we already have. As the Buddha once said, let us rise up and be thankful. For if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little. Gratitude is not just a momentary feeling, it's a lens, it's a practice. And over time, it becomes a way of seeing the world that builds joy and strengthens your emotional resilience. In modern life, comparison is everywhere. We scroll through photos of success, luxury, or perfect smiles and subconsciously compare them to our own reality. But this mental habit focuses on the gaps instead of the gifts. Gratitude changes that. It reminds us, true abundance is not measured by what we have, but by how we see. Let me share a simple story. There was a farmer who owned a small piece of land and lived in a modest home. One year, a storm swept through and destroyed part of his crops. He was devastated. But the next morning, Walking across his field, he saw sunlight pouring down on the few crops that remained, and instead of mourning what he had lost, he gave thanks for what had endured. That shift from despair to gratitude gave him strength. It didn't erase the hardship, but it helped him face it with hope and clarity. That's what gratitude does. It doesn't ignore pain or difficulty. It balances them. It shines a light on the blessings that are still present even in hard times. So how can you bring this practice into your daily life? Start with something simple. Keep a gratitude journal. Every evening, write down just 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big. Maybe a smile from a stranger, a delicious cup of tea, or simply the fact that you made it through the day. Over time, your mind will begin to notice blessings more easily, even on difficult days. Another powerful practice is expressing gratitude to others. A sincere thank you to someone who helped you, supported you, or just brightened your day. It deepens connection and spreads warmth. And here's the beautiful part. Gratitude is contagious. When you share it, others feel inspired to do the same. The lesson is timeless. Focus on blessings, not on lacks. Gratitude won't erase life's challenges, but it transforms the way you face them. It strengthens your spirit. It lifts your heart. And it builds a joy that's unshakable, no matter what storms come your way. Because in the end, gratitude is not just an emotion, it's a choice. And when you choose it, you choose peace. You choose resilience. You choose to truly live. Up next, we'll dive into the final principle, one that brings all the others together: mastering the mind and discovering the stillness that lies beneath every thought. In the last lesson, we discovered that gratitude isn't just a feeling. It's a mindset that transforms how we experience life. And now, to complete our journey, we arrive at one of the most liberating truths of all: letting go and trusting the process. Principle 9. Trust the process and let go. Imagine this. You're clinging tightly to a rope. Your hands ache, your muscles tremble, and your mind is racing. You're pulling with everything you've got, desperate to control the outcome. But the harder you pull, the more exhausted you become. Sound familiar? Now picture this instead. You simply let go. That moment, the moment of release, that's the heart of Buddhist wisdom. Let go, trust the process. The Buddha taught that the root of suffering is attachment to outcomes, to expectations, to control. And yet, in our modern lives, we often grip tightly to the illusion that we must control everything: our future, our relationships, our success, even the pace of our own growth. But life, in its wild, beautiful unpredictability, cannot be mastered by sheer will. The more we try to force it, the more resistance we meet. Peace begins when we loosen that grip. Think of a river flowing to the sea. It doesn't argue with the rocks or question the twists in its path. It doesn't panic at the bends. It just flows, trusting that the journey itself is enough. And that's the invitation for us too. Let go of the need to shape every detail. Release the constant pressure to control how things unfold. Because when we stop resisting, we make room for life's unexpected gifts. Here's a story that illustrates this beautifully. A young monk was once assigned to plant trees across the temple grounds. Eager to do it perfectly, he watered them daily, anxiously checked their growth, and fussed over every detail. But one by one, the trees began to wither. Frustrated and confused, he went to his teacher for advice. The master smiled gently and said, "You've tried to control nature. Let it breathe. let it unfold. The monk, though reluctant, stepped back. He let go, and with time, new shoots began to rise, stronger and more vibrant than before. By letting go, he had finally allowed life to do what it does best, grow in its own time. In today's world, we all wrestle with uncertainty. We want answers, guarantees, control. But uncertainty isn't the enemy. It's the space where transformation begins. When we trust the process, we trade anxiety for presence. We stop chasing outcomes and start living with intention, right here, right now. So how can we live this principle in our everyday lives? Start by acknowledging that life is unpredictable. Instead of obsessing over future results, focus on what's within reach. This moment, this breath, this step. Practice mindfulness. When you feel that anxious grip forming around a specific outcome, pause. Breathe deeply. Remind yourself, the root of suffering is attachment. Peace begins with release. Let go of rigid expectations. Welcome life's surprises. Accept that not knowing what's next can be a doorway to freedom, not fear. The lesson is clear. Letting go is not giving up. It's choosing peace over struggle. It's trusting that, even without knowing the full path, you are exactly where you need to be. Because in the dance of uncertainty, that's where real peace begins. And as we bring this journey to a close, let's reflect on all we've learned and how these teachings can become part of your daily life, guiding you toward a calmer, more mindful, and deeply fulfilling way of being. In the last principle, we explored the power of letting go, how surrendering control doesn't mean giving up, but rather embracing the unpredictable beauty of life as it unfolds. Now, as a bonus principle, let's take that same spirit of release into one of the most complex parts of life, our relationships. Bonus principle, non-attachment in relationships. Think of a flower blooming in a quiet garden. It doesn't force itself to grow in a certain way. It doesn't twist to match someone else's vision. Its beauty lies in its authenticity, in simply being what it is in that exact moment. And like the flower, relationships flourish most when they are rooted in acceptance, not control. This is the essence of what Buddhism calls non-attachment, a practice that holds the key to deep, healthy, and meaningful connections. Now let's be clear. Non-attachment doesn't mean pulling away, detaching emotionally, or loving people less. It means loving without trying to possess or control. It means letting others be who they are, not who we wish them to be. The Buddha reminds us that attachment to outcomes, expecting someone to act a certain way, fulfill specific needs, or match our ideal vision, often leads to suffering. Because people, like rivers or seasons, cannot be forced into shapes they were never meant to hold. Think back to a time when you tried to control a relationship. Maybe you wanted someone to love you in a certain way, or hoped a friend would always show up exactly as you needed them to. What often follows is frustration, disappointment, even resentment. But something profound happens when we release those expectations. We create space for understanding, for respect, for authenticity. Here's a story to reflect on. A young woman constantly tried to change her partner. She wished he were more organized, more ambitious, more like the person she imagined he could be. Over time, this led to distance and tension. Then, after speaking with a wise elder, she was encouraged to practice non-attachment, to see her partner not as a project, but as a person, to accept him fully as he was. Little by little, she let go of her ideal. And to her surprise, she found that her love deepened, not because he changed, but because she did. The relationship grew more peaceful, more real, more alive. In our modern lives, especially in a world shaped by social media, this lesson is more important than ever. We're surrounded by highlight reels, filtered expectations, and pressure to make relationships look perfect. But true connection doesn't come from control. It comes from emotional independence, the ability to love without needing others to meet our every desire. Here's a practice to bring this principle into your life. Start by examining your expectations in your closest relationships. Ask yourself, am I trying to change or control the people I care about? Then gently practice letting go. Release the need for others to fulfill a role. Instead, celebrate their uniqueness. Allow them the freedom to grow, evolve, and be fully themselves. Because when we stop trying to shape others, we create the conditions for love to bloom freely. Non-attachment in relationships doesn't mean loving less. It means loving more wisely, with presence, with compassion, with acceptance. It's in this emotional freedom that relationships become not only more peaceful, but far more powerful. And with that, we've reached the end of our journey through these 10 transformative Buddhist principles. Now, let's take a moment to bring it all together, so you can begin living these teachings in your everyday life. Previously, we explored how non-attachment in relationships allows love to grow naturally, without control, without pressure. And when you release the need to control others, you don't just free them, you free yourself. That freedom becomes a gateway to deeper peace. Now, let's turn to a quieter but equally powerful principle, one that can shield you in life's most chaotic moments. Bonus, Principle 2. Silence as a shield. Imagine standing at the edge of a storm. The wind is howling. Rain lashes against your skin. The world around you is a whirlwind of movement and sound. Now ask yourself, what if the wisest thing you could do in that moment was to simply step back, to close your eyes, to be still? In the Buddhist tradition, silence is not just the absence of words, it's a powerful form of protection. It is a shield, a sanctuary, a space where clarity is born and peace is restored. Silence allows us to pause before we react, to reflect before we speak, to return to our center when the outside world threatens to pull us off balance. In today's fast-paced world, we are constantly bombarded with notifications, conversations, opinions, deadlines, and the never-ending chatter inside our own minds. But amid this noise, silence offers us something rare: clarity. It gives us a break from emotional turbulence and creates space for wisdom to arise. The Buddha emphasized mindfulness, being present without judgment. And in moments of stress or conflict, mindfulness often begins with silence. When we react impulsively, emotion hijacks our awareness. But when we pause, even for a few seconds, we can choose how to respond instead of letting the moment choose for us. Let's consider a story. A young man worked in a high-stress corporate environment. One day during a meeting, a colleague made a harsh, cutting remark. His immediate reaction was anger. He wanted to fire back, to defend himself, to prove a point. But then he remembered the power of silence. He paused, took a deep breath, counted silently to 10, and in that moment of stillness, something shifted. The anger subsided. His mind cleared. When he finally responded, it was calm, composed, and thoughtful. The conflict de-escalated, and a mutual respect between the two deepened. In our own lives, silence can be that same refuge, whether in an argument, a difficult conversation, or a moment of self-doubt, silence helps us reclaim control. It's not about avoidance, it's about wisdom. It gives us room to process, to breathe, and to align our words with our intentions. To bring this into your daily life, start small. Set aside a few quiet minutes each day. Through meditation, mindful breathing, or simply sitting in stillness, allow space for silence to return you to your center. Over time, you'll find that silence becomes a tool, not just for peace, but for strength. Because in the chaos of life, silence is a shield, a force that protects your calm and helps you move through the world with grace. And so, we come to the end of our journey through these timeless teachings. In a world that often feels rushed, noisy, and out of balance, the wisdom of Buddhist philosophy offers us a sanctuary, a way to live not only with calm, but with clarity and strength. Each principle we've explored, from letting go of anger to embracing gratitude, from mastering our responses to trusting the unknown, is more than just a concept. It's a practice, a path, a way forward. The storms of life, be they insults, envy, expectations, or fear, only have as much power over us as we allow. When we reclaim our inner peace, we transform those storms into stepping stones. These teachings are not just ancient ideas, they are a call to action. They are a guide for anyone who's ever felt overwhelmed, unheard, or uncentered. They are for you. So imagine this: a life where you remain calm in the face of criticism, where comparison no longer steals your joy, where presence replaces anxiety, and peace becomes your natural state. That life isn't far away. It begins with just one step. Start with one principle, one practice, and watch how your entire perspective begins to shift. If this video touched your heart, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. What principle resonated with you most? Like and share this video if you believe others could benefit from this message. And don't forget to subscribe to Buddhism Seeds, your home for inspiring Buddhist insights to help you live a calmer, wiser, and more fulfilling life. Your journey to inner peace starts here.